Well, Mike, thank you for coming back on the podcast. It's been a few years. How have you been, man?
I've been doing good, man. Lots, happened since the last time we spoke. It's
Yeah,
been a minute, that's for sure. But I'm doing well.
good, good. Yeah, I saw you got married recently. Congratulations on that.
Thank you very much, man. I'm still a newlywed. It's
Yeah,
like 2 months. So that's kind of cool.
hell yeah. Yeah, because I think last time we talked was like 2017 or 18, I think,
Yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah, and we
Wow,
weren't even like,
it was that long ago.
I think so. Yeah,
Wow,
yeah.
time flies, bro.
I know. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It was still before the last record came out. Um, And I think we just did like a little swap cast just because I think neither of us had anything kind of going on, and we were like, hey, let's do something. But
Yeah. 2017 was probably when we were out supporting the Grand Annihilation. So like that record was probably out already and we were touring on that. So there wasn't anything new on the horizon besides like tours and stuff like that.
yeah. Well, I know when I first had you on, I definitely asked about like records and stuff that inspired you. So we're gonna skip that. And if anybody wants to know, go back and find that episode. It's episode 7. I looked it up very long time ago. But besides that, man, it's been 5 years since the last record and 3 years since the EP. So what have you been doing in that meantime? Like, 5 years is a long time. How have you guys been kind of staying busy in that time?
Yeah, well, I mean, some of that time was eaten up by the pandemic, unfortunately. So,
Yes.
we weren't doing anything except for writing. And I would say about half of this record was written during that period. Like not a lot of material was written during that. I wouldn't say half, but
Yep.
one song in particular, the song Nightland, which there's going to be a video for that, and that's like going to be the final single before the album comes out. That was written straight up like that was like a meditation on that whole period. It was,
Hmm.
I was living by myself at the time. Everyone was isolated, but it felt extra lonely just being. I just moved to New Jersey, and there was all sorts of really bad times surrounding me around that time. And so yeah, so I kind of put everything into that one song. Even the lyrics, like I looked at the when we first started doing pre-production for the record, I looked at the dates on the files, and they dated all the way back to 2020. So I started
Wow.
writing that song pretty much right after Sullen Skies came out, because that came out. We had two records that came out in 2020 in the middle of the pandemic, so we couldn't go out and tour on any of that stuff. But
Which is a huge hit.
yeah, dude, it definitely changed the trajectory of the band, I think, for sure. I mean that was some of our strongest material, and in my opinion at least. And
Mhm.
we really weren't able to go out there and take it to the people until 2022, late 2021 is when shows started happening, I think. But yeah, we did once we were able to tour, we went out and toured, like right maybe maybe a little prematurely. We went out with Cloak and Restless Spirit. And Cloak's been doing some great things since then too. I mean,
Mhm.
they're on the rise, man. They're a great band. Same thing with Restless Spirit. And then we did a tour with Abysmal Dawn and Origin, and then we went out with most recently we went out with Profanatica and Nunslaughter. So that was a great tour. And then just as far as we haven't really been doing a lot of volume touring, but I feel like the tours that we've done have been quality, and even the shows that we've done, the kind of one-offs we've been doing, are more intentional as opposed to just going out and playing like 200 shows, every year, which is kind of what we used to do.
Yeah, I gotta imagine that like picking those tours is important to just kind of like not burn yourself out. You really want to tour that much?
Yeah, well, I mean,
That's
yeah,
got to be a lot, man.
there was a period of my life where that's all I wanted to do was be on the road.
Yeah.
It was um, up until like just maybe ever since I met my wife, actually, all I've ever wanted to do is just be gone. I just wanted to be
Yeah.
out on the road, and away, like I guess running away from responsibilities and putting things off, being elusive with people. But for the last 2 years, there's been a change, in my life, and that has made me kind of try to fit things in with more intention, like I love music, I love the creative process, I love performing, I love the band, I love the guys in my band, but I also love the life that I have outside of the band too. So I try to like fit all those things in so that everything's served equally, so it's not just one thing is outweighing the other. So that's been like a real change in my philosophy in my life and just my perspective on everything.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier, with like COVID going on and everything, how everybody was like really isolated. And I don't, we both love movies. I don't know if you've seen Eddington yet. Have you watched that?
Not yet, man. But that's on my
Okay.
list though. That's on my short list actually. Yeah.
It's not spoiling anything with the movie, but it kind of breaks down those feelings of like everybody kind of being separated and like kind of navigating through all that stuff over the years. And I can imagine like, as another artist yourself working through that with the music and having that song that you mentioned was like a little bit of um, a weight off your shoulders. I would have to imagine getting that out there in the world.
Exactly. I mean, that really, I mean, there was a period of time where like, I wasn't even sure if the record was ever going to come out really, because there
Hmm.
was like, we weren't really a priority over a Season of Mist. There wasn't, nothing. That's just a statement. It's not any kind of judgment on them, but it's like,
Sure.
they're a great label. They have a great roster. Everyone's cool. Like I don't have, there's no, you know, animosity or anything, but it was, uh, it was clear after a while that we weren't gonna, we weren't really a priority. So the record kept getting delayed, and like, you know, it was hard to get an answer about certain things. So that's when we decided, you know what, let's just like, cut ties here, or not even cut ties, just move on and do something different. So that's how
Sure.
we ended up with redefining darkness. And so yeah, it is a huge weight to get this record out and especially that track that I was talking about, it's like closing the chapter on like a very, very dark part, of my life. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's good. Yeah, not to sound corny, but it's cathartic. Just to
Yeah.
overcome that. To get past that emotional, sort of like abyss that I was in. And it's like, now looking back, I can appreciate it for what it is. And, the song, I think it's a great song. I put a lot into it. And, I'm looking forward, to have people check it out and, maybe they could take something out of it too.
Yeah, I guess we are revealing a little behind the curtain of like what the lyrics are about. Do you like people kind of interpreting it for themselves, or are you more of like, no, this is what the song means, kind of person?
Yeah, I want people to interpret themselves. I mean, none of my songs are literal. I mean, you can
Sure.
listen to the songs and there's nothing, it's not like it's an autobiographical piece. It's
Right.
just sort of this impressionistic point of view of that period. It's like you listen to it, you read the lyrics or listen to the lyrics, and it's just like like an emotional painting of like what was going on during that period of time. It's not literal in any way, but with that sort of generality, someone subjectively can come in and have their own experience with it. And that's how I like to write lyrics. I don't like to be literal. I like use imagery and, you know, sort of leave it up to the listener to interpret it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I find that like a lot of people, especially in metal, are kind of about that. It's like, just figure it out what it means to you, not necessarily what it means to me. Like, yes, I'm the writer behind it, but I just want people to connect with the music in their own way. And I've always appreciated that fact where it's like, if somebody's like, oh, this song is just about zombies or
Yeah,
uh
definitely.
whatever, in into the world stuff, it's just like, yeah, it's cool too, but having that little bit of metaphor is really nice too, I think.
Well, one of my favorite bands of all time is Neurosis, and there's
Yeah.
the title Through Silver and Blood. Like, what the hell does that even mean? You know what I mean? But you know exactly what it means. It's like those words like strung together like that have a meaning, for everyone. And I don't know what it really is about, but it's meaningful in its own way to me and everyone else who likes that song.
Yeah. Yeah. The other thing I kind of wanted to ask too about you know kind of when you were finishing up the last record, you said you pretty much started immediately like maybe not immediately, but you had already like began work on that song. So kind of over the years, like what was the working pace like for like writing the new material for this record?
Well, yeah, pretty much that whole period of isolation was like nonstop, really just ideas. And, I've got song after song, part after part that's still on my hard drive that like, you know, got discarded.
Yeah,
There's so much material that like I don't know if any of it's good or what the deal is, but it's like you write all this stuff because there's nothing but time on your hands, really.
yeah,
I'm sitting there alone in my apartment, finish my work for the day, and then there's the expanse of evening in front of you, and it's just like, well, what am I going to do with my time, So I would just work on the material because at that point everything was closed. Like there was nothing to do. I'd go out for a walk or something like that. There's no
yep,
gyms open or anything. And then so it was a nonstop process of just putting ideas down, writing, my notebook and everything. And then the things that actually were manifested into songs, it's like those things kind of just rose to the top,
hmm,
and everything else is kind of sunk to the bottom, and it was just like a very natural process. And that carried on until into 2023 and 24. And then after, things started getting back to normal, um, the other guys in the band started writing material of their own. And, this record's very collaborative too. It's not like I wrote everything on it. I mean, I wrote all the lyrics, but like some of the songs, like, for example, The Sun Sets was like written by our bass player, Drew. Like, the entire song, like he wrote
hmm,
from beginning to end, and I wrote the lyrics, and it's like that is probably one of the strongest tracks on the record, in my opinion. And Justin, our drummer, is a great guitar player, and he and I have a long history of collaborating on songs together. I mean, he's written, you know, bits and pieces, and it's a very organic process that we have. Like he'll send me a riff, or we'll play it in practice, and it's like, oh, okay, I have this other thing that fits with it, and that's a common thing. But this record, I would say, is very collaborative across, all three of us. And so that was the added missing piece between the stuff that I'd worked on during the pandemic and 2023 into 2024 was those demos. And then finally we, recorded the whole thing. And even that process just sort of like evolved from the demos that we had. We just kept improving upon those. And because we produced the whole album ourselves, like we
hmm,
recorded everything ourselves, and Justin mixed everything, and yeah, and our buddy Andy from Ultha, he mastered it. So everything was like friends, and Selden Hunt did the artwork, who's a great friend of mine. And I love that. I love that it sort of comes full circle in a way to back in the old days when there was no budget to do anything, and everyone was friends, and we just sort of helped each other out. And that's kind of like the vibe on this record is very very DIY, like very it had that spirit, which I really
yeah.
enjoyed.
I was noticing that in the notes, man. So I'm glad you kind of touched on that because I saw that everybody had like a guitar credit, and I was like, oh
Mhm.
shit. So like, how did they divvy up like who wrote what, and just
Just
somebody, yeah. So
yeah,
it's
I
I'm glad
mean,
you brought that up.
it wasn't like seeing Molly Hatchet where there's like three dudes ripping guitars. It
Yeah.
wasn't like that. When it was like everyone just kind of worked on stuff on their own, and we
Hmm.
just the best ideas are the ones that ended up on the record. I mean, you know, I think for me personally, that was a huge step to sort of tame my ego on that level too, because like, like back before playing with these guys, I mean, first of all, this is the greatest lineup the band has ever had, I think, in my opinion. Everyone in this band is like incredible players. I
Yep.
mean, I'm not. I mean, I do not consider myself very good at playing guitar. But Justin, Drew, and Dan are just like virtuosos, man. That you can't get any better than those guys. And so this is like, as far as musicianship goes, the top of the line. So it's hard to like, be this egomaniac around those guys because everyone could play circles around me. So but prior to that, it's like I was very much
But it makes you a better player too in the end because you
Yeah,
learn
oh
from
yeah.
them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely. I mean, what really made me a better player was when we worked with Eric Rutan
Oh yeah.
back on Savage Gold, because that dude was like, he's like a wrestling coach when you go work with him. It's like, it really changed everything with for me, the way I practiced, like working with Rutan. And so going from that into playing with these guys, it really brought the best out of me as far as my own technical improvements. And but prior to that, I was like, very much married to writing all the material myself, and it being the singular vision and all this other, sort of egomaniacal like stuff. But being able to overcome that is just a triumph in a lot of ways of maturity. It's like I
Yeah.
finally, like, this stage of my life, I've been mature enough to collaborate with people, which is good, for me.
Yeah. So, was it like that on the last record too? Like they helped write some of the stuff? Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because I,
Ever
I
since
never got
those
to.
guys joined the band, it's been, a lot of collaboration,
Okay.
and yeah, so that was
Yeah,
but
this
more
is
so on this one. This one is like really collaborative.
okay.
Yeah.
So this has been like the longest like stable lineup then for since that last record?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, yeah, it's pretty much been the same guys since, 2020. The thing is, it's like me, Drew, and Justin, and the second guitar player role is fluid in a lot of
Hmm.
ways. You know what I mean? But like that's always been like the we've had a bunch of different guys play second guitar on tour and on different records and all that. But the core is like, me, Drew, and Justin.
That's good. Yeah, because I imagine like keeping those same people around, like, you guys just know how to work well with each other after a certain point. It's like I bet stuff just comes so quick now because you know that working relationship with each other.
Yeah, and even though it is cool to collaborate, sometimes you can have too many cooks in the kitchen, you know what I mean? But it's like
Mhm.
we've figured out like a nice, you know, process, I think.
So I know you said, in your opinion, you feel like the last album was like the best material so far, but I think this new stuff, man, like having listened to the record over the weekend and everything, man, you kind of come swinging out of the gates for that intro song. It's probably the heaviest thing you guys have ever written, and I was not expecting that at all. I was like, holy shit.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I mean, yeah, I mean, all right, I'll say Sullen was like to date the best record we've done.
Hmm.
The new one, Feral Darkness, I think is better. Okay. I think that just the playing is better, the riffs are more interesting. Um, there's like some chances, some reaches on that record. I think like we tried things that we were successful at this time around that we weren't successful at maybe on past records. And I just think there's a very big diversity of types of emotions on the record too. I mean, there's like
Yeah.
super fast songs and there's like slow songs. There's songs with, melodic singing. There's like extreme vocals. There's death metal. There's black metal. There's like all sorts of stuff on the record.
Yeah, that was like kind of the thing that I noticed is like you really like broke out of that genre box a lot more this time around and like did all kinds of different things. Um, and the other thing I wanted to mention too, Sara from Black Math Horseman, fucking
Yes.
love that band so much. So when I saw
Oh
that, I was
yeah.
like, oh, I'm in. I love whatever this is gonna be. Like, and
Yeah.
sure enough, killed it.
Yeah. Well, Sarah's been on a bunch of our stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
she's sang on many, much of our material over the years, and she's just a good friend of mine. Like I've known Sarah for like probably like 15 years at this point, and
Hmm.
I've, tons of respect for her as a songwriter, as a vocalist, an artist. I mean, she's actually going to be in the video for Nightland too.
Oh,
So
nice.
that's kind of cool. So yeah, she's just an interesting person too, aside from all of the musical talent.
Yeah, her vocals are just so haunting. So it just adds like another layer, like when she is involved. So I was just like super stoked to see that on here again. Um, so okay, getting back to kind of the writing of the record and everybody having like that collaborative process, was it like as far as like getting a song together, was there like pieces from each people, or like you mentioned, your bass player wrote like an entire song himself? What did it look like when you were trying to like finalize everything as far as like tracks and what riff goes with this and all that to get ready to record?
Yeah, well, we had a bunch of different demos. Some of the songs we did not put on the record, actually. There's like one track in particular I'm thinking of
Okay.
that it's probably going to come out next year on a single. Like we're talking about doing like a just like a two-song, single next year. So it's with
Sure.
one of the, we just needed more work. And that's kind of the deal. It's like we had the demos, some of them are just like tracks that we did here with like loop drums or something like that, and just maybe just guitar or something. And then we kind of sift through that material. And then it's something that Justin and I collaborated on. Like those actually we worked out in the practice space together. Like I
Okay.
would go down to the space and we would, I have this riff that goes with this song. Let's try it out, and then go from there. But Drew, like, because Drew is like the front man in another band called Hammer Fight that he does with Justin, and actually Dan
Okay.
plays in that too, and Todd, another guy who played guitar in Tombs too. Um, yeah, Todd Stern also plays in Hammer Fight. So Drew is like used to like writing songs from start to finish.
Okay.
So out of the blue one day, he just sends over like a Dropbox link with this track in it. And I was just like, what do you want me to do here? It's nothing. It's like it's done, It's like I got nothing to say. I have no notes on this at all. It's like fucking awesome and it's like completely done. So that one sat for a little bit because I was trying to figure out, okay, so I'm not gonna, the guitar playing is way different than maybe something I would have written, but then I was trying to figure out vocal wise, like what to do on that song. And I was just like, all right, just kind of, one day, just like, hanging out in this room right here that I'm sitting in. It's like I just started demoing some vocals and that sort of fell into place. And then everything else, like once the songs that Justin and I had, once we arranged them, I made a scratch guitar track here in this room that I'm sitting
Hmm.
in with a, click track. And then he tracked the drums, and then we just kind of layered everything on top of it. And then, there's a couple of tracks that I wrote, like Ghoul, I wrote that one. I wrote Feral Darkness, Nightland. Well, Nightland had been existing for a while and in its
Yeah.
finished state. And those were existing on my hard drive, done pretty much, even with like, drum ideas too. Nothing, just my meager ability, like putting loops together is what the drums
Yeah.
were. So
I
then
know how you feel.
yeah, dude. So you know what I'm talking about. And then from there, that's how everything sort of evolved. So it's like a combination of completed songs, pieces that we worked out in practice, and then tracked, made guitar demos of, and then everything just kind of like developed like from those demos. And over time too, which is the best part about this process is like, prior to this, you're under the gun. Like you got like a schedule you're trying to follow. So it's like, okay, I need to, like working with Eric Rutan, for example, it's like, okay,
Yep.
Eric needs the click tracks and everything, all the sessions with the scratch guitars, and needs them by the certain date. So you put it all together, and then that's the song. You get out of the studio and you record it. Yeah, but here it's like the process lasted for months. You know what I mean? Because we would do things as over time because there was no real deadline for things. Like we had self-imposed deadlines.
Sure.
And then when we felt like everything was ready, since we weren't sure what label we were going to work with, that's when we started having Mark Vieira, our manager, looking to see who would be interested in working with us, and that's how we came up with Redefining Darkness.
Yeah,
Yeah,
is that something you guys were kind of like pushing for to have a label, or were you kind of contemplating maybe just like self-releasing too at a certain point?
that thought definitely crossed my mind. You know what I mean? And but I think that more so like on the PR end of things. It's like
Hmm.
all I want is for people to know the record's out. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I have other projects that I'm doing that no one knows that when they come out. You know what I mean? So it's like, I got things that come out and then great, my five friends know about it and that's it. But Tombs, like, we've been a band for, over 15 years at this point. So if we're
Yeah.
gonna have a new album, I want people to know about it. I want people who have been listening to the band for years to know that there's a new album out. So that's why it was important for us to partner up with somebody who we would be comfortable with working the record and who understood the music and who was like enthusiastic about it, and that's, Thomas from Redefining Darkness. easy guy to work with, enthusiastic, and like I knew that he was going to put the proper amount of effort into making sure that people knew the album was out. Like we weren't, we're not looking for like, $30,000 of like advances to make an album. Like we just wanted to have the
Yeah.
record come out and have it available for people and for them to know about it. That's really all we
Yeah,
wanted.
that's got to be the hardest part in this day and age with like how the internet is and like, stuff having to go quote unquote viral and all that. It's man, I can imagine like the work going into that from just like if you didn't have a record label and you guys were trying to do that, how much work that would be
Yeah.
for everybody.
You just get lost in the shuffle, and it's like a lot of that is we continued to work with Katie Irizarry, and
Hmm.
yeah, we've been working with her since like 2018 or 2019, like from when we were on Season of Mist, and she worked those records, did a great job, and the one thing we wanted to do is continue working with her, continue working with Mark, our manager, and continue working with Steph, our booking agent, at Continental. And I figured with those three components together, it doesn't matter what label it's on. It's like people will know about it, and we'll have someone to make sure that we're on the road, when it comes time to promote everything. And
Yeah.
that's pretty much all we need.
Yeah, I was talking to some friends of mine. I won't name them because I don't know if they want this out there, but like they were talking about for their tour that they had to do, they had to pay some like TikTok influencer person to like, or they didn't have to, like their record label did, but like they had to pay this dude to like go on TikTok and be like, go to this tour because he has like 10 million followers or
Oh,
something like
wow.
that. And they're like, we hated that. We did not want to do that, but that's just like the state of things right now to get people to go to your tours. And I'm like, what the fuck? People go on TikTok to see what tours they need to go see now. Like, shit's
Yeah,
crazy.
yeah, I don't think I would be into doing that really. You know what I mean?
No.
It's just like, yeah, it's got to be tough, man. And it's like, I'm not saying that we're like, a popular band or anything, but we definitely have like some people who want to see us when we play. So
Yeah,
it's cool that even though the shows are small, that people come out and can enjoy it. And I would never want to pay some influencer to like, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just not for me,
sure.
and I
No,
feel
I get
bad
you.
that people have to do that. You know what I mean? That's the world we live in.
Yeah. No, that's kind of how I felt too. I was like, man, it sucks that you guys have to do that, even though they don't want to. And like, like you mentioned earlier, you had this very DIY ethos, not just with writing music, but with the band. And, I feel like that's something that comes from how should I put it? I guess it just comes from like, how me and you kind of grew up. Like that's just like how we did things, like word of mouth, like hanging out with friends, like all that shit, not just going on the internet and like typing it or making a video about it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's like it's interesting you say that because I know that back when the band started out, I was like we were all of us at that point were very like critical of you know, the Brooklyn scene and all that kind of thing. Like, there was a lot of like, yeah, this is like 2007, 2008.
Okay.
So there's like this kind of hipsterish thing going on. I mean, there's, at that point, and, we were critical of that. And there really weren't that many places to play even back then either. That was before St. Vitus had its like, era.
Yep.
But what I look back and I am actually kind of fond of just how the band was able to find a little bit of an audience just from the playing shows at Death by Audio, and stuff like venues like
Hmm.
that are just basically spaces that had bands play there, and it's like I miss that. Like I miss seeing the same people over and over again. Like, and there was definitely like a cool vibe at that for those couple of years, and I'm really glad to have been part of that on some level, even though at the time I was like, negative. You know what I mean? At the time, I'm like, fuck all this, man. These people. But now it's like I look back, I'm like, you know what, man? Like, it was kind of cool for sure. It was
Yeah.
like there were some great shows, that happened in places like that. Now that it's gone, you look back and you're like, damn, that was like a very cool time.
Yeah. No, I get that feeling 100%, man. It's only until after you've had time to kind of reflect that you can appreciate something sometimes, and you're like, well, shit.
Yeah.
I took it for advantage when it was going through it, but I don't know, this is part of life, I guess. Same thing
Yeah, it's
with like,
interesting how like you think it's always going to be this way. You know what I mean? Like
mhm,
you go through these different phases in your life, and it's like you just assume that this is how it's going to be from here on out. But that period of time only lasts like 2 or 3 years, and then it's different.
yeah.
Something changes, you change, and then everything's completely different. It's like, I'm getting all like emotional and like sort of reflective now, but it's like it's kind of interesting how that happens though.
No, even on just like a base level, like using this podcast for example. Last time we talked, I wasn't even doing video or YouTube or none of that shit, and like that's just like where it's at now.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
like, fuck, I wish I could just still do audio. Um, so you mentioned the recording process was pretty quick or easy. How did that like kind of, I guess, work for you guys? Because you mentioned Justin recorded everything, or not Justin. Wait, you
Yeah,
said
that was
Justin. Yeah,
Justin.
yeah.
Yeah, Justin, the
Sorry.
drummer. Yeah.
You said he recorded everything. So was it another kind of like slow process, like you mentioned with like the writing, how you kind of divvied it up, or was it like we got this, we're gonna go in and we're gonna finish it and it's done?
Yeah, once the songs were written and it went well, I wouldn't say it went quick because it would there would be like weeks would go by where we weren't working on it. You know what I mean? It would be
Okay.
like the drums would get done, then like a month later I'd do guitars, and then like maybe one day in the middle of the night there an email would come, or the bass parts are ready, or something. And then at the very, very end, I did the vocals, and the vocals, that probably took like, a couple weeks to get that all complete. And then the mixing was like, maybe 2 or 3 weeks in
Oh,
total.
that's not bad. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, it's I never really made a record like that before. So but it was cool. I'm not sure, if I would do it again really, because I do like having more structured deadlines.
Right.
I get anxious if things when things are too loosey goosey. You know what I mean? Like I mean, this is also probably a good learning experience for me, and to kind of let go of this like regimented by the numbers, kind of lunch pail approach that I have to most things in my life. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm very rigid in a lot of ways, and it was probably good for me to kind of let go of that for this record.
So could you extrapolate on that a little bit more? Like, in what ways did you feel like you let go on this record?
Yeah, well, like everything didn't get done exactly when I wanted it to be done, and that's
Oh, okay.
like, yeah, that's for me, like I have this very logical like time frame, process, order that things are going to be done,
Yeah.
and they didn't go that way. You know what I mean?
Okay.
It was like, because I've been doing this for however many, decades of my
Yeah.
life. So I'm like, all right, this is how you make a record. You know what I mean? And it's like, so then you get down to it, and with the freedom that we had and the lack of schedule, things took longer, and maybe that the process was more circuitous than it was in the past. But I also think that that led to kind of the unique feel the album has. You know what I mean? It's
Hmm.
not, you know, it's uncomfortable for me to make a record that way. I like, we all get in a room, whatever, we take the time off from work and we go to the studio for 2 or 3 weeks and we just bang it out, and
Yeah.
you sleep on the floor of the studio and then you get up and do guitars or whatever, and that's how you do it. But a lot of it was like I said, like a lot of these periods of time went on. And I guess in a way, like sometimes I'd listen back and I'd be like, oh, you know what? Maybe I should do this overdub differently, but I had the time to redo it, which was
Mm.
kind of cool. So yeah.
Yeah, that was kind of leading into what I was going to ask next. If there was anything that you guys tried differently this time around as far as recording with like guitars or drums that you haven't in the.
The whole process, I mean, the whole like thing we were talking about was just different. It's like
Okay.
the technical stuff, like we don't trigger the drums, so
Oh
that's
hell yeah.
cool. Like that we didn't use any triggers. We reamp all the guitars, which is what we did this time, which we always
Okay.
do. We used our rigs that we have to play live through, and we reamped everything. The solos and stuff were, pretty much. amp models, like they weren't actual amps, which is kind of cool, like which is what we did in the last album. So I mean, it was pretty, the technical aspects of it were the same or similar.
Okay.
Just the kind of chaotic approach to doing it was what was different.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, what are you playing these days as far as guitar?
Oh, let's see. That the record, the new record, it's all LTDs,
Okay.
seven strings. Let's see, I got a couple here. I got the MH 1000, No. Yeah, that's primarily what I use. We all use seven strings and five strings on this record.
I was gonna say the tone sounds a lot deeper than it did on the last one, so I was very curious about that. Like if they were downtuned sixes
Yeah.
or
No, they're
up a
sevens.
string.
Yeah. Yeah, they're A standard seven strings.
Okay.
I got the Nazgul pickups in there.
Nice.
And yeah, just that tone, like this the lower tuning is I guess listening to as much Cannibal Corpse as I do, I think made me like open up to that more. I was hearing things differently, you know what I mean? And then I don't know, it just lent itself to that. And I mean I like playing a seven string. It's got like it's like got that neck, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the geometry is made for tuning low. And I think going back to when we worked at Rutan, it was like, you know, that guy is like a scientist when it comes to guitars. I mean,
Hmm.
he was explaining to me that, well, if you tune this at this level, like the lowest you could probably go with a six string is like C, C standard. If you're going any lower than that, the geometry of your neck is different. So you would want to go to either like a baritone guitar or like a seven string because it stays in tune better.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's kind of even back then is when I was thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, that low, brutal like tone is like really what we were going for.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. I've been playing seven strings for like ever, but over the past year I switched to a six string baritone and I've
Nice.
been loving it. Like I don't know why I like it more now. Just like for some reason, I don't know. It just like it feels better to me.
Yeah, I agree with you,
But
man. And like pretty much that's what I've been playing. And then for another project that I do called Scorpion Throne, that's still on six string. So
yeah.
when I went over to use my six string, it felt like I had this toy, this like little toy ukulele or something I was playing on.
Yeah, it's so weird. Yeah, switching between the two because like I'd played seven for so long and I get that six again. I'm like, oh my God, like what even is this fucking thing?
Yeah.
But the neck is just like so long on baritones, man. It's crazy.
Yeah. I like baritones. I never owned one, but I played
Mhm.
a couple of them over the years. Yeah.
Yeah, they're fun. They're fun, especially with that low tone, man. I think it just hits that right kind of tone in between like a six and a seven, or even lower, man.
Yeah.
Have you seen like what are they called? Like they're like Jazz Master. They're basically like a fucking bass guitar, if that makes sense. Like it's a guitar, but it's got bass strings on it.
I've only seen those. I've never played anything like that. No.
Yeah. I haven't
Yeah.
played it either, but I've seen them, and I'm just like hearing the tone that people get from those. I'm just like, holy shit! It's like real sludgy, doomy stuff, you know?
Well, the cool thing about the sevens too is like you gotta EQ your whole rig differently too. Like you
Oh,
dial back on the gain a little bit and like maybe punch up more of the mids to get the definition. Because I mean, if we were doing some kind of sludgy like doom kind of thing, I probably wouldn't be too concerned with that. But
right.
there is we some of our songs are pretty fast, and there's like the articulation on like the tremolo picking has to come out. So
Yes.
so I on this setup, I dialed the gain to maybe like 2 o'clock, I think, on the recording. So it's a little bit more cleaner, but you can hear everything a little bit better.
Yeah, I would imagine for like black metal chords too, man. Like getting the definition in those like chord changes and progressions. It's probably
Yeah,
good for that.
exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as far as everything with the record, like I know this is kind of a cliche question, but like what's your favorite part of the whole process as far as like writing, recording, and like getting it out there into the world?
I like the early days of recording of writing rather, when like you have the idea and you realize that this is the idea that's probably going to turn into a song. It's satisfying in that way because you got so many bits and pieces that you listen that you know, for me personally, I have like, it's like, how there's like that, how there's if you put a room full of monkeys in a room, like one of them will write like, Shakespeare, it's just
Yeah. Yeah.
like it's this volume, it's like I just write so much shit that most of it's horrible. And then when something actually clicks with me, that's satisfying. Like that's like the part that's like, oh, cool. This is like something that has some kind of legs that I can turn into something useful. So the early moments of writing is like when you get into that groove, you get into the flow of like, oh, then the parts like start coming together, or the parts start coming together, and then there was that one piece that you wrote like 2 months ago that you went nowhere, but that somehow fits in the new thing. And like that's kind of like that's the most satisfying part to me. It's like that moment of like actualization that you have something that's going to turn into something instead of just like this endless scribbling, of like nonsense, which is like the larger majority of the things that I do just die on the vine, really. You know what I mean? So it's kind of cool when like those few things come together, I find that more satisfying than even having like the final thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's like you feel like somehow you have purpose, it's like there's like after that moment when there's purpose, everything is just like execution to the end point, so that's a different energy, you know what I mean? But it's like that moment when you have like something is the part that I get really excited about.
Just like the creative spark of it, of like, where will
Yeah,
this
man.
go? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That's amazing. Yeah. I'm glad you said that. That's because sometimes I get like, kind of canned answers of like, oh, it's all the same. I like every bit of it.
Yeah, when I'm playing my sick riffs in front of the full house, man, that's like, nah, dude, I don't, I love playing live, but once again, that's a
Yeah.
different thing completely.
Yeah, I can imagine that in a creative outlet and feeling too, man, when you're just like, playing songs for people that resonate with what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a completely different thing. It's not even creative, really. It's like, going to like this different space, really, and it's like more of like, without sharing too much about it, it's more of just a way to reflect outward, some of the feelings that you have in a way that's not socially irredeemable. You know what I mean? It's like you
Sure.
can, smash someone's window or, beat someone up with a baseball bat, or you can like play music, you know what I mean? So it's like it's probably more socially acceptable to play the music. So that's what playing live is more about for me, really.
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of like dealing with those feelings in a different way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not exactly.
So, Mike, I know you are a big horror fan like myself. We've talked about this many, many
Oh yeah.
times.
Yep.
So yeah, before I let you go here, I kind of want to talk movies for a little
Sure,
bit.
man. Love it. Love it.
What have you seen so far this year that you've really enjoyed? And maybe stuff you didn't that you were just like, I thought I was going to enjoy this and wasn't for me.
Well, a couple of things, and this year started off really, really weak, man. I thought it was
I
compared to
agree
last year.
with you.
Compared to last year, it was just like a over the top with how many great horror films there were. But this year, it's like Bring Her Back, pleasant
Hmm.
surprise. That's on my short list for this year of best films in horror. I
Oh
did
wow.
not like those guys' first film, Talk to Me. Did
Right.
not like that one. You know, that's really good. Weapons, of course,
Yeah.
everyone's jumping up and down about weapons, but I think, Zach Cregger's can make a great horror film. I thought that was excellent. There's another Japanese film called New Religion that came out earlier this year, and that's like it's like a very like a Kurosawa Pulse type of film. It's you can rent it on Prime.
Okay.
Yeah, that one was pretty awesome. Yeah, and those are probably the top ones. There's some stuff that's going to be coming out this year that looks really cool. The Frankenstein
Yeah.
movie is going to be interesting, I think, and oh yeah, I just saw it Together too, which
Oh,
is
nice.
that exceeded my expectations. Like I heard it was good, the premise sounded good, but it went into a really cool place with that film. And yeah, it was almost like it became more like a weird tale than like a horror film. You know what I mean? It had this like, oddness to it, which really made me excited, and it wasn't just like a body horror film. But yeah, that just saw that like 2 days ago. Excellent. I highly recommend that one.
Yeah, I've heard about that. I haven't gone to see that one yet.
Yeah.
Because
Like
I've heard
what
I
about
was
what about
like,
you?
so I also saw Bring Her Back. Funny enough, I feel the opposite.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't enjoy it as much as Talk to Me. I still thought it was okay. Uh, the third act was probably the best part of the movie, but like I had such a hard time like really caring about the kids. I know this sounds terrible, but I was just like, I don't know, man. These kids are just in a shitty situation. I don't know what it has to do with the mom wanting to bring her kid back. And then when like they finally revealed why, it made a little more sense. But up until that point, I was just like, these kids could die for all I care. But no, the third act was the best part. It was super creepy at the end. I don't know if you looked up any of like the stuff they did for it on the internet called the Black Angel tapes.
Oh no, I haven't seen
Fucking
that. Oh,
creepy, dude.
huh.
Videos that she's watching in the background, but like you can watch them all like in
Oh
full.
wow. I got to see that. I got to check that out for
Creepy.
sure.
It's so creepy. They did a good job with all that stuff. So
Yeah.
that added another layer afterwards when I saw it. I was like, okay, it's I still like Talk to Me more, but this movie's it's fine. Um, what was the other one? Oh, Weapons. Jesus, that's probably like my favorite movie so far this year, hands down.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's definitely up there. Together really surprised me though, man. That one like
Okay.
might be one or two for me so far this year, and I mean, and this year had such like there really weren't too many films that came out this year that really got me excited. So that one maybe in another year would be further down on my list. But yeah, I thought Together was really cool.
That's good. It's a good recommendation then, because I've been kind of like on the fence about going to see it because people are like, it was fine. I don't know. We'll see. Because like I pick and choose like weird movies to go watch. I'm sure you do the same. It's just
Sure.
like, but I just went and saw Toxic Avenger, the remake.
I got to see that.
It was fun, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
no, I'm sure it looks great, by the way. Yeah.
yeah, Macon Blair, he understood the assignment. He's like, what is a trauma film? But absurdity and lots of blood. And that's 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 pretty much what it is.
Yeah, I mean, you got Peter Dinklage, you got
Yeah.
Elijah Woods in that movie. That's I like both of those actors. So yeah,
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
Oh yeah, dude, Kevin
Yeah,
Bacon,
yeah,
definitely like sort of like a horror resurgence in his career. You know,
absolutely.
yeah, same
Yeah.
thing with Ethan Hawke too, man. Like Ethan Hawke is coming out of obscurity, man, to like be in these horror films. Like he's in that, I didn't like the Black Phone, the first one, but then the
Mhm.
second one actually looks pretty good.
Yeah, I'm curious about it myself because it's like, you've seen the first one and spoilers, I guess, for those who haven't, but like Ethan Hawke's character dies. So they're like, how are they bringing it back as a ghost?
Yeah, and I'm kind of intrigued by that because I mean, maybe I'm like projecting, but like some of the more interesting ideas that I like are things like tulpas and if someone believes in something that it's real, you know what I
Mm,
mean? Like, and that's actually a very when enough people want to believe in God, right? For example, God manifests inside of them and they do things as a result of that belief that
right.
they have, right? So whenever there's a horror story that has something to do with belief and, you know, maybe that's what this character is, like if you think about Freddy Krueger, Freddy Krueger was like
Mm,
a character that was, he was lived in the dreams of people, so the collective dream world that these people had created this presence, this entity, which, reached into their lives. And maybe that's what this Ethan Hawke's character is, that's the kind of thing that makes me excited. So I saw that, I read a little bit about it. I did not really care for the first one, but the second
sure.
one, I'm going to give it a shot.
Yeah, I think I'm a big fan of like that writer Cargill who wrote that and director and blank on did Doctor Strange or no was gonna do Doctor Strange. Anyways, I like his work too, and they like collaborate a lot on films. So um, it is interesting because I actually weirdly thought the same thing when I saw the trailer. I was like, oh, this feels very Freddy Krueger because
Right.
the
Yeah.
people dying and like you see the blood, but he's there, and it's like, well, how does that work?
Yeah. So I'm interested. It looks cool. I would, I didn't. The first one was like whatever. I watched it. It was cool, but like
Yeah,
I didn't rewatch it. I didn't go back to watch it again. But like The second one looks interesting to me.
Yeah, I think the other film that I'm waiting for this year. Oh, the new VHS.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
love those.
Every year,
Yeah,
man. We got one on Halloween. So yeah, I'm just I'll watch them. I love the entire franchise
yeah,
actually. Even the OG ones I think are brilliant. So yeah,
yeah, yeah. You know, with any of those things, like some of the segments are hit or miss, but I think the overall they're usually like so fun that it's like, you know, we could just not pay attention to this one and watch the rest of it.
yeah,
So I feel
yeah.
like that's how.
Well, right on, man.
Do you have any Halloween staples, like stuff you watch for spook, I guess these days?
Yeah, I mean that goes. I probably starting this week. I'm going to start get into my short story reading for the Halloween season. But then
Oh hell yeah,
films, yeah. I mean, I'm Call of Cthulhu, Shadow over Innsmouth, the Dunwich Horror, Sticks by Carl Wagner. These are all like things that I revisit every year, like some M.R. James short stories, some Shirley Jackson short stories, Crouch End by Stephen King. Like it's all about short stories this time of year. You know what I mean? You can knock them out and sit down, read them, and it's cool and it creates this like vibe. And movies, like my wife and I, for the last couple of years, we've been, together, we've been doing the 31 days of Halloween. So,
nice,
staples I always watch Hellraiser 1, the first Hellraiser, you know,
perfect.
Exorcist 3,
Yeah,
you know, I mean, Exorcist 1, too. We watch, both of those. Of course, Halloween,
yeah,
Prince of Darkness,
good one. Yeah,
which is probably
very underrated flick, I
one of
think.
my top three Carpenter films for sure. You know, Pumpkinhead, that's another great one.
Oh, good one.
Dude, it's like that's a Halloween movie.
Yeah, that movie scared the shit out of me when I was a kid. Like no
Oh
joke.
yeah, man. Absolutely. That movie
Shouldn't have
like
been watching it,
terrified me.
but
Yeah. Have you ever seen Trilogy of Terror?
yeah, yeah, with that creepy ass
That
little doll.
the Zuni fetish doll
Oh,
with, Karen Black. Like
yeah,
that's definitely gonna watch that. I have that Blu-ray of that. All three stories are written by Richard Matheson, the great TV short story
yeah.
genre fiction writer. So yeah, I'm big on that. Invasion of the Body Snatcher.
The original, and the remake.
Well, not the original. The original's sick, but the one with Donald Sutherland was my
Okay,
favorite one though. I
yeah,
mean that Donald Sutherland is like anything with Donald Sutherland in, I'll watch.
yeah.
At least check it out, you know. And then there's a twofer coming up. Of course, there's Salem's Lot,
Uh-huh.
the miniseries, the first one from the 80s. But have you ever seen the 2004 Salem's Lot miniseries that Donald Sutherland's in?
Okay, so I've seen it pop up on HBO Max, but I have not watched it.
All right.
And I was
Not
like,
not
what
the
is this?
film, the movie that came out a couple years ago.
Right.
I did not enjoy that one. However, somewhere around 2004, there was another miniseries that came out that had Rob Lowe in it,
Yeah.
Not Kiefer, Donald Sutherland and Rutger Hauer. Okay.
Wow.
And dude, very few people even know about this, but it's actually pretty damn good. And that's gonna be part of our Halloween viewing.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a good
highly
yeah,
recommend
that's
them. Yeah,
that's some good actors right there. Have you
yeah.
ever seen this at least I think it's kind of obscure. I never hear anybody talk about it, but it's a movie from the 90s. It's a horror movie with Donald Sutherland and Jamie Lee Curtis called Virus.
You stumped me, man. I have not seen that. I don't think
Wow.
I have.
I
Virus.
think I think you would like it. So, just to give you the premise, it's about these people who are out on a vessel and they find an abandoned boat. Already, you know, some shenanigans are going to go on. And then it just turns into this fucked up body horror where like bodies are getting taken over by like mechanical shit and like,
Okay.
man,
This was based on a
great
comic
effects.
book. This was based on a comic book that I actually read.
Really? I
Yeah,
did not know
because
that.
I did not see the film, but I read the comic book that came out in like 1990 or something like that.
Damn. I
Yeah.
need to find that comic then because that's
Yeah,
like
the comic was sick. I did not see the movie though.
it's got great effects, man. Like the body horror effects of like all the mechanical stuff with the flesh is just like ugh, it's grotesque. It's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, I gotta look
Highly
that up, man.
recommend.
Definitely.
Well, Mike, I don't want to keep you too much longer. As far as like all the promo stuff where people can find the record when this comes out. By the way, I'm gonna hold this back until probably like a week or so before the record comes out, if that works for
Awesome.
you.
Yeah, it's great, man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So where people listening or watching, where can they go to support you guys and buy the record or whatever works best to help you?
Well, you can go to Redefining Darkness and you buy it directly from them. You can go to Bandcamp, the Tombs Bandcamp. And then there's going to be a special edition package with Holy Mountain Printing, who,
Oh, hell yeah.
yeah, you guys probably already bought tons of stuff from them. So there's going to be a like a deluxe package that has the record, a t-shirt, and then a 28-page zine of short stories and an interview and an essay that I wrote, and um and that's going to be a companion to the record.
Oh, that's
And
sick.
yeah, and it's all, it's got the artwork of Selden Hunt. The t-shirt's got that sick like Selden Hunt like artwork on it. So yeah, that's going to be a limited thing. So if you go to Holy Mountain, you'll be able to order that.
Oh, damn, dude, it's nice having you on again. I
Oh
seriously
yeah.
appreciate you coming back on, man. It's been a while, so I'm
No,
glad I could
anytime, man.
get you back on. It's fun. It's fun.
Hell yeah.